Thank you, Chair. So essentially your central motivation has been that you're rather aghast that techniques in the social media world that have been used for military psyops purposes are being used in the political domain.
I mean, that's a part of it. I think also more broadly, when you look at how Cambridge Analytica operates or how SCL operates, they don't care whether or not what they do is legal as long as it gets the job done. So it's not. There's been a lot of focus on the data side of things, and there's been a lot of focus on targeting. But more broadly, this is a company that goes around the world and undermines civic institutions of countries that are struggling to develop those institutions. So there's a lot of reasons why I find the company problematic. It's not just the data. It's also more broadly that they are an example of what modern day colonialism looks like. You have a wealthy company from a developed nation going into an economy or a democracy that's still struggling to get its feet on the ground, and taking advantage of that to profit from that. So there's several reasons why I find the company problematic. So
do they sort of like to have an aura, do you think, of being the smash of the modern digital age?
The smash?
Smash. So James Bond, the evil organisation that manipulates things here, there, and everywhere across the world.
I think if you watch the Channel 4 Undercover, for example, I think you can see for yourself that they know that that's the brand that they present, and they cultivate that. I think they find it amusing.
No, I sort of get it, and I didn't quite know what to make of Mr. Nix when he came to us, apart from that he was a corporate financier who sought a sort of a higher calling, as he almost said it to us. But I do remember on the Channel 4, one of the most hilarious bits was a chap called Mark Turnbull, who got a big plaster on his nose, I think, saying that he was a master of disguise.
He doesn't always have the plaster on his nose.
Okay. There's just before we want to get around onto some of the things that happen in different parts of the world, but just before we do, I just wanted to just probe into your predecessor who died in Kenya.
Yeah.
Was that I've not heard of that, working for the Kenyatta campaign?
Yeah.
Were there any suspicious circumstances?
I've heard several different stories as to what actually happened, so I don't know which story is accurate, but it didn't sound, when you work in Kenyan politics or politics in a lot of African countries, if a deal goes wrong, you can pay for it.
So is this a matter of public record, or is this new now?
Dan, who's my predecessor, his death did cause some news coverage in Romania because he was the son of a cabinet minister in Romania who is now in jail for corruption charges, I think. But so he came from a political family in Romania. So the fact that he died was news, but the circumstances of his death, I've heard different stories, so I'm not sure which is.
And his name was Dan?
Dan, his surname starts with an M. And
Muresan.
Yeah,
Muresan.
Could you spell that just for the record?
Muresan.
Okay.
He was working simultaneously in India, I think, and there is also some coverage
simultaneously
from
in India?
Yes.
I mean, when you look at Facebook's biggest market, I mentioned this in the States as well, India is the top in terms of numbers of users, and obviously that's a country where, which is rife with political discord and opportunities for destabilization. So that
they've worked extensively in India. They have an office in India.
I think that's something we might want to pursue later. But just on this point, when you were told that there was a vacancy because your predecessor died in Kenya, what explanation did the company give to you of that death?
Just to clarify, when I got hired, I wasn't told that my predecessor died in Kenya in his hotel room. That was several months after, when I asked about who was I actually replacing, because I was looking for some old files and I couldn't find. So I did realize that I didn't actually know the name of the person who I replaced. So I asked about, looking through old files, that's where it came out that he died.
So same question 2 months on then. What explanation were you given of the? How old was he? Do you know?
He was in his 30s.
Did they give you an explanation?
I mean, they did. Just if I explain it, just if you understand that it's pure speculation. So sure. It's not. I'm not stating this as a matter of fact. I'm sure. Just repeating, what I heard. What I heard was that he was working on some kind of deal of some sort. I'm not sure exactly what kind of deal it is, but when you work for senior politicians in a lot of these countries, you don't actually make money in the electoral work. You make money in the influence brokering, after the fact. And that a deal went sour, and again, this is what I've been told, so I'm not saying this as a matter of fact, but people suspected that he was poisoned in his hotel room. I also heard that the police got bribed to not enter the hotel room for 24 hours. But that is what I was told. I wasn't there, so I can't speak to the veracity of that account. But that's what I was told. Okay, well, we'll leave that there for the moment because there are plenty of journalists who might want to follow some of those interesting leads.